The story of the establishment of the Kingdom of Israel marks a pivotal transition in the biblical narrative, a moment that altered the course of God's people's history. Until this point, Israel was governed by judges, leaders raised by God in times of crisis to deliver and guide the people. However, as neighboring nations grew stronger under monarchies, the people of Israel cried out for a king. They desired a leader to unify the tribes, bring military security, and finally provide a stronger national identity. This demand was not just a political shift, but also a spiritual one. Israel's request for a king symbolized a deeper unrest, a failure to fully trust in God's leadership. The prophet Samuel, who had been the central figure of spiritual and governmental leadership in Israel, saw this request with great concern. Nevertheless, God instructed Samuel to grant the people's wish, making it clear that though they were rejecting God as their true king, he was still in control. Thus, the Lord chose Saul from the tribe of Benjamin to become Israel's first king. Here in 1 Samuel 10, we witness Saul's anointing and the formal creation of the Kingdom of Israel. In this video, we will explore how God, through the prophet Samuel, established Saul as king and the impact of this decisive moment for the nation of Israel. The context behind the people's cry for a king. Before delving into Saul's anointing, it's crucial to understand the background that led the Israelites to demand a king. From the time of Moses to Samuel, Israel was a theocracy where God was the true ruler, and judges served as his representatives. However, as the years passed, the corruption among Samuel's sons and the threat from neighboring nations, such as the Philistines, created an atmosphere of fear and discontent. The people began looking around, envying the other nations who had strong kings and unified armies. The choice of Saul. Now we come to Saul's selection. In 1 Samuel 9, we are introduced to Saul as a young man of impressive appearance, the son of Kish from the tribe of Benjamin. He was tall and handsome, the kind of figure the people might imagine as their king. But more importantly, God had a plan for Saul. The meeting between Saul and Samuel was no coincidence. It was divinely orchestrated. While Saul was searching for his father's lost donkeys, God was preparing him for something far greater. When Samuel met Saul, he welcomed him with hospitality, and the next day he anointed him in secret, pouring oil on his head and declaring, "Has not the Lord anointed you leader over his inheritance?" 1 Samuel 10:1. This act of anointing symbolized divine selection, showing that Saul was not merely the product of popular demand, but was chosen by God to lead Israel. The public confirmation of Saul as king. Although Saul's anointing occurred privately, God provided signs to publicly confirm his choice. In 1 Samuel 10, Samuel instructs Saul on a series of events that would prove the authenticity of his anointing. These signs included specific encounters and even the spiritual empowerment of Saul to prophesy, which surprised everyone who knew him. After these events, Samuel gathers the people of Israel at Mizpah for the public selection of the king. The method used was casting lots, a common way at that time to discern God's will. When the tribe of Benjamin was chosen, followed by the family of Matri, and finally Saul himself, there was no doubt that he was the chosen one. However, in a curious moment, Saul was found hiding among the supplies, perhaps reflecting his reluctance or humility. The people, nonetheless, received him with joy, shouting, "Long live the king." 1 Samuel 10-24. Samuel's role in Saul's reign. Even after Saul's anointing and proclamation as king, Samuel remained a crucial spiritual figure. He gave Saul clear instructions on how he should rule and reminded the people that, though they now had a human king, God was still their true sovereign. Samuel explained the king's duties and Israel's relationship with God under this new monarchy. The establishment of the kingdom of Israel under Saul marked a new era, but also emphasized that the kingdom's success depended on Saul and the people's obedience to divine law. Saul's anointing as Israel's first king was a moment of great significance, both politically and spiritually. Although the people of Israel requested a king for reasons that reflected their insecurity and lack of trust in God, the Lord was still in control of the situation. He chose Saul, an apparently ideal yet imperfect leader, to govern his people. This story reminds us that even when we stray from fully trusting in God and seek human solutions for our problems, God continues to guide us. He works through our failures and desires to fulfill his purposes. Saul, despite his limitations, was an instrument of God to unite the tribes of Israel and face the enemies threatening their existence. However, this story also serves as a warning about the importance of obedience and faith in God, something that would be more deeply explored in the remainder of Saul's journey. As we reflect on the founding of the Kingdom of Israel, we are reminded that just as God guided Israel through their uncertainties, He continues to guide us today. Even when we don't fully understand His ways, we can trust that He is in control and has a greater plan for each of us.